Good morning, world. Good evening, Lea Salonga. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
David Gordon from TheaterMania here with the legendary. Uh,
Thank you.
10 o'clock at night where you are in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm normally wide awake at this time of the night. I don't go to sleep until really, really late. So this is not a bad time to be talking to me. And I have my lighting all set up and everything. So
I was going to say,
yeah.
let's have a whole studio in your house now.
I think with this whole pandemic and with a lot of artists and performers having to create content or do live streams or even corporate gigs. I mean, I've done a couple of those now.
Have you really?
You have to have a setup in your house. You have to have a good microphone, and I have a couple of good ones. One of them is kind of I'm using exclusively for when I record stuff for release,
Yeah.
like with Dream Again, which is what we're going to talk about today also. And there's another one that's just for live streaming, which is what I'm using now. So there's two. I have ring lights, but they're not in front of my face so that I don't get that ring of light in my in my eyes.
Yeah.
And then I kind of keep the one air conditioner unit on, but the one that's closest to the microphone has to be off because then it sounds like there's a tornado in my house.
I'm doing this the extremely low tech way. I don't have a microphone. I'm using the computer microphone.
Right.
I don't have a ring light. I have
you have the sun. That's that's actually the best source of light. And depending on the time of day, it can be really, really flattering if you know how to position yourself relative to your light source.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I figured it all out and I've been watching YouTube videos.
I mean, it's better than sitting and like twiddling your thumbs waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to learn quite a few things over the course of this pandemic. I've learned a little bit of how to use Logic Pro, which is recording software, music software. I've had to use a little bit of that in GarageBand. Which is kind of like Logic Light. So I'm sorry?
Yeah, I was going to say you're going to come out of this as like your own producer and stuff now too.
Not quite, because the stuff I'm doing, I can't exactly call myself producing content. Even though I did just get my first producer credit for something that I did for a fundraiser thing, because it was like all of us trying to compile song lists and gathering up, arrangers and figuring out content. And one of my good friends was also helping me out. So she was my co-producer. She's like, you totally have to get the credit on this because of the stuff that you're doing and the stuff that you're figuring out. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I get my first producer credit ever. And I'm just sad that it had to be during a pandemic, but I'll take it.
Right.
And I've invested a little bit in the lighting, which is helpful, especially at 10 o'clock at night. But yeah, I started out kind of ghetto. It was using whatever microphones I might have had, and they weren't really giving great sound. My lighting was like, okay, whatever ambient lighting I have, that's what we're going to do. And pray to the iPhone gods that nothing happens. And now we've graduated a little bit. So I feel better with my sort of studio situation. Yeah. That I can have all of this stuff set up and it looks good. I mean, it's not studio quality, but it's good for something like this for sure.
Did you record Dream Again from your house or was this?
In my closet.
Really?
Yeah. I put the microphone in the closet because it was a great way to dampen the sound. So it wouldn't be so echoey and resonant. Stuck it in there. I even had pillows around it to further absorb whatever sound was like around this microphone. And there's no air conditioning in the bathroom. So prior to the recording, I would open the bathroom door, turn on the AC full blast so that the bathroom would get cool enough. And because even with the door closed, you can hear vibrations coming from the air conditioning. So I had to turn it off, close the door, and then got on a Zoom with Daniel Edmonds and Blair Bodine and Josh Pultz for the recording session. And then I would go in and lay my tracks down one by one, verse by verse.
Yeah.
And then there were a couple of re-records that Daniel was asking for me to do. And then I ended up just recording much of the lead vocal by myself and then sending it all to him just so that we had alternate takes and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I recorded it in my bathroom closet.
And the idea that you were collaborating, I'm looking at the press release now just to make sure that I get all the countries right. But the idea that you collaborated with people in California, New York, North Carolina, and Kuala Lumpur is just, the fact that this is happening all over the world is like so cool, and encouraging.
Yeah, actually, hang on. Kuala Lumpur, okay, that's where my brother is. Just so that I can get everything.
Yeah.
New York, that's where Josh is. Blair Bodine, I think, is in North Carolina or Nashville, one of those places. Yeah. Daniel is in Sydney, Australia. I'm in Manila.
Right.
The backup singers and drummer are in Australia, guitar player in Los Angeles. So it was definitely an international crew of artists and musicians and vocalists coming together for this project. It's a good symbol of people coming together from all over the globe to make something happen. Yeah. And given that this is a global pandemic, it felt like a really good metaphor for worlds and countries coming together to do something.
Had you worked with Blair and Daniel before, or did they?
Daniel, yes. Blair, no. I still haven't met her face to face.
Oh wow!
But Daniel, he and I have actually toured Australia together. He was my piano player when I did concerts out there. My brother, who's the guy in KL, he was the musical director. So Daniel played all of the piano stuff, and he's amazing. He's also a musical director for a bunch of musicals out there. He was doing Beautiful, Carole King's story. Yeah. And then when we were last there, he was MDing Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's quite a busy man. Yeah, he's quite busy. So that he actually set aside, work stuff to do the tour last year was fantastic, because he's just so easy to work with, incredibly talented, and really nice to look at. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't hurt when you look over to the side and you're trying to eyeball your pianist and just kind of get a good feel.
Right.
And when you see that it's somebody who looks really chill and handsome and pleasant and with it and has all of his stuff together, it's comforting. It's comforting when you have all of that in one package.
Right.
And then with COVID-19 happening, and for him to write this with Blair and for me to sing it, and it was just something that we all felt we had to do. I guess as a response to so much of the anxiety and fear that a lot of people are feeling. There's just so much uncertainty that there's that.
And it made me feel hopeful when I was listening to it.
Oh, thank you.
It made me feel like one day there will be another side of this. And I don't often think about that very often.
Yeah. I mean, there's always another side. There was always an other side to stuff like this happening. It's not always the easiest thing to see.
Right.
It's difficult. This feels like a long tunnel, and I'm like, is there going to be a light at the end of this? Is there going to be an end to this?
Which is how I feel.
And it's just it's just hard to see. It's hard to see. So I just have to take it. I take it a day at a time. I have to enjoy the day as it is, rather than as it's supposed to be or as it should be. I have to enjoy moments as they are, and be thankful for whatever I'm able to get out of it. And I've just been listening to BTS nonstop. It keeps me happy. It's like some of my other girlfriends kind of got me into it via Facebook. They're posting videos. They're
you
talking
just got
about
into that recently. You were saying.
Yeah, I'm a brand new fan. Well, not brand new. I mean, I saw them on New Year's Rockin' Eve, and I was really, really impressed. But I think it was when Dynamite came out. That was when I was like, okay, and into the rabbit hole I go, and that's it. Bye. You won't see me for a while.
The comments are blowing up with the fact that you're a BTS fan.
They're good. They're really good. They truly are. They're talented. And as somebody who's Asian, have you any idea how happy I am that they hit Billboard's #1 spot in the Hot 100 chart? No idea just how it's like, oh my gosh, these are Asian men, beautiful Asian men who have just done something that so many artists are hoping to achieve someday in their careers. They've done it. And I know that they work really hard, probably harder than so many other people do, really driven and ambitious and focused and disciplined and just nuts. And it's fantastic that this is happening to them. And I think there was stuff on Twitter that they were actually crying because of the achievement. It was really, really sweet.
What did you have anything canceled when everything shut down?
Yeah. Oh,
because you concertize all over the country, all over the world.
I do. I concertize all over the world. So there's a whole lot of world that I'm not going to be able to see. The only place I was able to travel to concertize was Dubai, with a band of musician friends. We did 2 nights at the Dubai Opera in early March. And that was it. That was the last concert that I did. I didn't do much concert work this year. I was a special guest for a Valentine's Day show. Rachel Lango, who played Gigi in the revival of Miss Saigon on Broadway, she had a Valentine's Day concert here, and she asked me to be one of her guests, and so we sang together.
That must have been a nice little bit of like.
It was really sweet, and she's one of the sweetest people, one of the nicest people. So it was an easy yes. But already people were starting to feel that paranoia about COVID-19. People were already wearing masks. There were so many people wearing masks at the concert, which gave me a lot of relief. I was able to go, whew, okay. And even then already we were practicing distancing, hand washing, mask wearing, just whatever we needed to do in order to stay safe and not get infected, because we were starting to find out just how virulent this thing was, how fast it spreads and how bad its effects are on people. So there was already that, and that was February. And I was also still in the midst of filming The Voice.
Right.
So there was a lot of stuff happening. And then there was the whole thing about COVID that was starting to happen. And then by the time quarantines were announced here, then Josh and I started talking. Josh is my manager. So we started talking, and he's like, I'm canceling the US tour because things were starting to ramp up over there on your side as well. And quarantine was announced here, which meant there was no travel. Beginning March the 15th, my brother had already gone to Kuala Lumpur. So he was stuck over there quite happily because they're in double digits now and he's fine.
Wouldn't that
so
be
he's okay. So I'm not actually worried about him.
I hate to say I'm jealous of double digits, but being US based, I'm very jealous of hearing that it's in double digits.
Double digits. And he's like, oh yeah, things are pretty much coming back to normal. People are able to go out. He's able to eat in restaurants, and share meals with people. He's able to go do his groceries. I mean, that he was always able to do, but he's able to engage in a much more normal way. Over here, there is still a lot of physical distancing that still needs to kind of happen. But yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm just waiting for the day that our numbers go down. I think yesterday, I couldn't see the numbers today. I know yesterday it was like over 4,200 new infections, and that there are over 52,000 active cases. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that there is a downtrend. Right now, it seems to be hovering at around 3,000, 4,000, something like that.
Yeah, what I've learned from being here in New York is that it hovers for a bit and then it starts to go down.
I'm hoping that that's the case as well here, that it hovers and then it starts to go down. One of my friends who's in Seoul, who I hate him so much. I love him, but I hate him because he just opened. Yes, yeah, he just opened and he's in Something Rotten right now in Seoul, Korea. So I don't know which role he's playing, but I just want to punch him and hug him at the same time because he's able to do theater. He's able to do a show.
Yeah.
And there are so many of us in the world that can't do that yet. So it's like, Michael, I just want to punch you, but I want to hug you and congratulate you because you're able to do that. I mean, he just opened maybe a couple of weekends ago. And I'm like, I think there's so many performers that are just aching to get back on stage. So many people.
Yeah.
In New York, so many Broadway performers just want to get back to work.
At this point, you're probably even willing to do the 8 show a week grind again.
Well, that was the last grind I did. So yeah. I don't shy away from the 8 show a week run. I try to stay healthy and I try to take care of myself as best as I can because I know how grueling that grind is. It's hard. I mean, I do concerts. I'll sometimes do 2 concerts in a day. And I'll come out of that in better shape than after doing 8 shows a week of a featured character in a Broadway show. It's like,
I was going to say,
dear God, this is like painful. It's painful.
Oh, I was going to say, I know it's like comparing like apples and onions or something, but was the Once on This Island run where you were a featured character, but you had a song. How many songs did you have? 1 or 2, and then a couple.
I had one big solo,
right?
Which made me so happy to sing. I love that song.
I love that song. I was going to say, how did that run? This isn't even going to be a great question, but like, how did that run compare to doing something like Miss Saigon? Not when you
very different.
Yeah,
it's very different. I mean, let me try and put things in perspective. Doing something like Miss Saigon. I think it was a 6 show a week.
Yeah.
Versus the 8. However, this is an 8 show a week grind. Walking on sand, barefoot. I started out barefoot, and then I ended up wearing shoes because I'm like, I can't anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm flat-footed, so excuse me. There's a bug just around here. I may have to, swat it away every so often, just so that y'all know. It's sand, and some of it gets kicked up, so you don't know how much of it you're breathing, and if so, is it harmful? Am I going to be suffering from lung cancer in like 10 years? Is that going to be a problem? And apparently it wasn't going to be a problem. I think they checked the air pollution levels in the theater and all that. But still, not quite. I still ended up with quite a few sinus infections in the course of that run. And I didn't get sick like that while I was in Miss Saigon. I mean, I had a couple of bouts of infections doing Saigon. The second time that I did it on Broadway. So that's 99 or that was like in 1990.
Because it was
9.
The closing. It was the closing.
Not for the closing.
Okay.
About a year before.
Okay.
I went back to the show for 5 months, and I only remember I missed 6 performances in that. And for that role, that's not bad.
No.
It's really not. I mean, by then I had honed my singing technique to the point where I didn't have to think about it, where I was also really aware of my body and what it could do. I never pushed it when I was sick. I always took the night off if I knew that I could get someone else ill. I tried to always behave as responsibly as I could. And so I ended up staying for a month longer than we all originally intended. And I had the best time. I really did. It was more fun doing it in those 5 months than it was probably at any time before that.
Well, because the pressure.
Because there was so much pressure, and you're 18, you're 19, you're 20, and you have so many eyes on you. I mean, to put it in to put it in, that was that time's Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the show that people were looking at. It was causing people to talk. There was so much controversy surrounding it. So it was getting a lot of attention. Some of it great, some of it not so great. But yeah, there's a lot riding on the shoulders of an 18-year-old, first in London, and then a 20-year-old on Broadway. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot to ask of somebody that young.
Yeah. And that show is,
yeah.
it's
a beast. It's a beast
Yeah.
of a show. It's not an easy sing, even when you're doing everything technically right.
And it's just so harrowing. I've told you this, I'm sure, but I'm obsessed with that show. It's one of my favorite musicals. I just love that show.
Yeah, me too, actually. I mean, it's a great one to sing and it's a great one to watch.
But it's harrowing.
Yeah.
Like I sat there, I was in Los Angeles last year when the tour was in town.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna get a ticket and go see the tour of Miss Saigon, because why not?
Why not? Of course.
Right. I was in LA. I had a free night.
Yeah, I've done the same. I did the same. I was in the UK on tour, and Josh and I decided, let's go see it. It's in Birmingham. It's on the way to Lytham. Let's take the train. Let's go book ourselves in a hotel. So the two of us shared a suite. And then we headed to the venue. I think it was walking distance from the hotel. So we had a really nice walk to the venue, a really nice dinner, watched the show, and then walked ourselves back. And I remember it being incredibly moving, just really moving. I had a couple of friends in the show, which probably contributed to how emotional I got, because these were friends from Manila.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So to see them, I mean, the guy playing the engineer, the girl playing Kim, the guy playing Tui, all of them, the three of them. And it was like, these are my countrymen, and they are making their dreams come true. They are getting to tour with this show that kind of has a very close history with this country because of how many Filipino and Filipino American performers that got to perform in the show.
I mean, I look at someone like John, who
oh my God,
whose history with that show.
Yeah, now he's just casually doing Ryan Murphy series, just like it was nothing.
Yeah,
I
love that.
Yeah. Guy. Just flex your connections, dude.
Yeah. But
so happy for him. Just so happy.
But that show, I saw it at the Pantages in LA, which is a gigantic theater.
Right.
And it's just I didn't realize until I saw the tour how as an audience member it's difficult to sit through, not in a bad way, but it's just so it's like watching an opera. And there's so much that happens.
Yeah, there is. Whew, yeah, there is. There's a lot of drama, But I mean, I love how, and I'm not going to diss this new production, but I'm always, because I will always be biased to the original production.
Of course.
Only because, not only because, one reason is that Nick had so many peaks and valleys in his direction. He knew when to, if we're talking in cinematic terms, he knew when to put a close up on something. Yeah. He knew when to zoom out and give you a nice wide shot and give you context and perspective. I was like, and these are things I did not realize when I was so young.
Well, how could you?
Working with him. There's no way I would have been able to realize any of that. I was just like, I just want to do my job and go home.
Right.
That's it. That's all I was so focused on. But, going back on it, and there were directorial things also, especially when I went to Broadway, things we were trying all sorts of stuff out in the rehearsal room. And the one thing that stuck with me out of just about every piece of direction that he ever gave was this. That part in the show where it's, I will have no fear. I have had my fill of pain. I will not look back again. I would rather die. That one. And I was a little bit more cry after when I would do it in London. But when we did it in New York, he's like, what if you just grab your stuff and then just get out of there? Because that you're going to just get back to your job. You've accepted this as your fate. So it's like, all right. So if it's not love with this man, bye, see ya.
Yeah.
So it's that. So, that rehearsal has stuck with me. And it's like, this is not normally how someone would predict this Asian woman to behave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and through the lens of somebody who isn't an Asian.
Right.
So for him to ask me to do that, to basically say, bye, F you, I'm out of here. It's like, it was just eye-opening, because then it told me, oh, so there are many ways of interpreting this.
Yeah.
And many ways of looking at something. So every time I see staging that includes, after that, I would rather die, and then her crying, I'm in my seat going, no. I'm like, no, please, no, why? And yeah. So there is that.
This might sound like a really silly question, but
Be silly.
do you like see? I know it's the time for silly.
Yeah, silly is always a good idea at any time of the day.
Yeah, I mean, my really silly question is, would you do that show again now?
Hell no, I'm 50. I am 50 in February. 50. I celebrate my 50th birthday in February of 2021, and hell no, I wouldn't do that show now. No, it's like, let the ingenues all have a crack at it, really. But I would like to impart, please go see your voice teachers before you do this, because it will kill you if you are not careful. And it nearly killed me, that is for sure. But I met a wonderful voice teacher named Mary Hammond, who basically took my voice apart and put it back together. She came to my last London concert at the Palladium last year. And she said that everything sounded healthy. You sound wonderful. Everything sounds healthy. I'm like, I'll take that. I will take that compliment. Thank you. When your teacher comes and says that you're sounding right, you're doing everything right. It gives you, not kinda, but it gives you a heck of a lot of validation that you haven't destroyed anything. And so, and then one of my friends in New York City, Matt Farnsworth, who's a crazy amazing voice coach and voice teacher, he had this class called Belksing. I'm going to shout out because this is important.
Yeah.
If you're not going to him, go to him. And this is why I sat in. He invited me to come and sit in on his Belksing class. Belksing is basically the way that a lot of singers sing. It's a mix. It's a mix that kind of sounds like a belt. If you're not a singer, don't worry about it. But if you are a singer, you might want to listen. And it's I think he teaches a lot of Christines. He teaches a bunch of alphabas, how to survive the 8-show-a-week grind without killing your voice, and doing it in a way that is safe, but still effective emotionally and dramatically, that it still serves the piece. It still serves excitement and commitment and connection, without basically putting a gun to your throat and shooting it. Yeah. So there is that. So he is fantastic. And I watched how he took singers one by one, step by step, through how they would normally sing, and then employing his technique. And he used to be an actor, so he knows what goes on in an actor's mind and the anxiety and stress that comes with, that sort of the responsibility of doing roles like that. So he would go and take them step by step, and even with physical warm-ups and physical stretching, and then they would sing again. He would tell them, this is what you do. This is what you do. Here's a warm up to open this up. Here's a warm up to stretch this part of you out. And then they would sing it again. And I'm just like, ah! And I'm so happy, because I'm like, okay, that sounds healthy. It sounds safe. It sounds like they'll be able to do this 8 shows a week without sacrificing quality. So it made me really, really happy to be able to sit into that class. And I will sing that man's praises as a teacher, because of what he what he is able to do. And he's like, do you want to do a class with me just for fun? And I'm like, well, we'll see. It's like right now with the time zones being what they are, I don't know.
That's like 4 o'clock in the morning for you.
It's going to be too tough. It'll be too tough. One of us is going to have to be a night owl. And as much as I love to stay up late, I don't want to sing at 1 o'clock in the morning. No, I'd much rather do that when I'm in his studio and when we can actually maybe go grab a meal afterwards and just, shoot the breeze. And we worked together here on Grease in Manila. He was Danny Zuko and I was Sandy. So even back then, he was already making remarks about my technique. So it makes me really happy that he has become quite a well-known voice teacher, and that he is teaching people how to properly sing. I know that there are a bunch of teachers that do that, but I mean, I've got this man's back, and I will endorse him to the high heavens because he's fantastic.
Shout him out again because people are asking for his name.
Oh, okay. His name is Matt, M-A-T-T. Last name is Farnsworth, F-A-R-N-S W-O-R-T-H. Matt Farnsworth. Yeah. And he has his studios in New York, but he might be quarantining with his husband overseas. I'm not sure where. Yeah. I think he might have gone to somewhere in, where's Andre from? I don't know. I think he went to Andre's home country.
Does your knowledge of technique and keeping your voice healthy and all that, does that influence the people that you pick to work with on The Voice? Do you look for people that have the good technique? What do you search for? What do you look for?
Well, I search for good intonation because I can't teach that. That it's either you got it or you don't. And it has to do with what you're hearing and how you are able to match your voice, your instrument to your accompaniment. Yeah, and I need people on my team that are sharp with that, who are just on it when it comes to intonation. I mean, yeah, and sometimes if it's one bad note, it's easy enough to fix. But if it's half of the song was flat, and then I'm like, I'm not turning because there's nothing I can do for this person.
Yeah,
that's God's honest truth. If you are flat for much of your song, I am not turning for you. I don't care who you are, what song you sang. Good intonation is important, just because it's a tough one to teach if much of your singing is flat.
Yeah.
So I look for that. I look for something that just kind of gets my heart racing, something that just gets me excited. And sometimes it's just the song choice and the first few notes. I'm like, all right, I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
I'll turn. Yeah. I mean, I have turned around for reggae, pop, folk songs, classical, I've turned for opera, musical theater. Yeah. Name it. I think I've turned for it.
Is there another season that's have they started planning a new season yet? Because I feel
we just finished one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see based on the comments that the season just ended, so I don't know what the turnaround time is.
Yeah, it just ended. Actually, our turnaround from the season previous to the one that just ended, it was actually very fast. We finished. It's I'm hearing emergency vehicles over there.
Yeah.
I'm what's going on?
It's funny. I live on top of a Dollar Tree, and it's a loading truck.
Oh. Okay, I understand. So It's not emergency. It's a delivery truck.
Yeah.
Okay, so the turnaround from the last season with kids and then the last season with the teenagers. I mean, we finished the season of The Voice Kids just pretty soon after I finished Sweeney Todd. So that was after Halloween, in the first or second week of November. And then we started filming blind auditions in December. It was that fast. Yeah. So that might have been the quickest turnaround. And so I was like, wait, I haven't recovered from the last one. We're already doing the next
so
one.
you're-
So yeah, and I was also on a Sweeney Todd hangover
yeah.
because
Was
we had finished the runs in Manila and then ended The Voice and then did the run in Singapore and then started another season. So it was like Sweeney, The Voice, Sweeney, The Voice for like the last third of 2019.
Yeah.
That's like my whole existence for like the latter third of 2019 was The Voice and Sweeney Todd. That was it. Nothing else. Nothing else was going on in my life.
Was Sweeney like a dream role? Was it fun?
It really was. It was a dream getting to work with that company, getting to work with Bobby Garcia, our director, and getting to just inhabit that character and sing that score. I probably had the most fun doing that show than possibly any other show that I had done. It was a joy to come to work every day. It was a joy to be in the rehearsal room, trying stuff out. It was a joy being stupid and silly with By the Sea. I was like, I knew it was coming. I knew that first rehearsal day was coming. I'm like, and of course I'm spouting all of these expletives. I'm like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? This is gonna be so hard. What am I gonna do? And then so I went through it with our choreographer, with our musical stager, and then so we'd go through everything, and then we'd stage it, and then we had the guy playing Sweeney. I could not keep a straight face for I don't know how many rehearsals because some of the reactions he would give me, like he'd turn with an expression on his face, and I'd look at him, and I would just buckle. I just literally fold myself forward and laugh. And then Bobby would just have to tell me, hey, in performance, you cannot do this. You have to keep it together. So I just had to commit to not looking at Sweeney at all.
I can just imagine. I
think you're cutting out. You're kind of, something's happening with you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Great. I'm going to leave you. I've already kept you for longer than I said. I feel bad because it's late at night. So I'm going to leave with one question.
Okay.
If you could go into any show, New York, London, Philippines, wherever, when all of this ends, what show would it be? It doesn't have to be a running show. It could just what would the first show that you want to do after this be? And I'm sorry, not like that.
Let me see. Of shows that I've already done, I would do Sweeney again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have to be like the same production that I did, but it could be another production, just to see how much further I can take that role, because our run was so short and our rehearsal process was so like crazy and short. I feel like I feel like I need to take another crack at it, because why not? The stuff that you might be able to find with another director, it might be enlightening, it might be fun. But of musicals that I haven't ever done, I don't know. I mean, if it takes 10 years to get out of this whole COVID-19 situation, by then I'd probably be okay to do Gypsy. I'd probably be okay to do Mama Rose and Gypsy by then. All of my hair will have grown gray by then. It's starting to.
Is it a dream role for you, Mama Rose?
It's a role that I kind of have my eye on. I won't call it a dream role exactly, but it's something that I feel like, oh yeah, this is one of those that I'm definitely going to do. And I think because coming from the perspective of having grown up from being an actor and a singer from the age of 7 to still doing it now, it's like I'm coming in with Baby June's perspective. I would be probably coming in with my mom's perspective, although she was not a stage mom in the way that Mama Rose was. Thank God. But yeah, it's something I think that would be interesting to explore. I feel like I need a few more years of life on me first before I try to tackle that. I don't feel quite ready. Not yet. But eventually.
Someone in the comments really wants you to do Mamma Mia, and I'd watch that.
If only to sing all of that ABBA music. I mean, it might be fun. I don't know though. It was a show that I always thought was a good romp.
Yeah,
And something because I love their music. I grew up listening to their music, so it feels like it would be something
a
that would
concert.
be a lot of fun to do. The concert, I mean, maybe if there ever was one,
Yeah,
that might be fun where you can read where you can read the script and read the lyrics. I mean, yeah, it's kind of cheating a little bit, but I mean, why not? For a couple of nights, sure, I would do it.
thank you so much for your time.
Thanks,
I
David.
appreciate it. Good luck with everything.
Thank you. Same
Thanks.
to you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everybody for watching, and be well and be safe. Have a good one.
Bye.